Hey, I'm Nate Savage.
And I'm Andrew Clark, and today we're going to take a look at the 4 pillars of rock guitar.
The first pillar of rock and roll guitar has got to be distortion, man. Not enough distortion, it's just going to sound really weak. Too much distortion, and it's going to sound bad. Let me show you what I mean. So I've got my regular normal tone that I was using on that jam track setup. Sounds awesome, but what happens if I don't use enough distortion? Check it out. It just doesn't sound aggressive enough for the part, right? So let me turn that back on. Now off. So you want to find the balance of what is enough distortion to make the part sound appropriate. So kind of the secret here is to dial in enough distortion to where it sounds appropriate, like I said, but not so much that things start sounding garbled. I like to use just enough distortion, or like the minimal amount that I need to get the job done. That's always kind of a good rule of thumb. So no matter what your rig is, experiment with that amount.
Pillar number 2 is power chord. So I'm going to show you a few power chord shapes that you can use even if you've never played rock guitar before. So the first one we're going to look at is the E power chord. E power chord is only going to use the bottom 2 E and A strings. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our first finger and we're going to place it on the 2nd fret of the A string and just play those bottom 2 strings. We're going to mute the top 4 strings and not let them ring through, or just not pick them. The next shape we're going to look at is the A power chord, and that is going to look the exact same except on the 4th and 5th string. So we're going to go to our D string and put our first finger on the 2nd fret, leave our A string open, and we're going to use our thumb to mute that E string, or make sure that we're not playing it when we're strumming with our strumming hand or picking hand, and we're going to mute those top strings as well. So then we get this. And then the last one we're going to look at is the B power chord, and this one's a little bit more challenging. We're going to be up at the 2nd fret with our first finger on the A string, and we're going to either use our 3rd finger or our 4th finger, depending on what's comfortable for you, and go all the way up to the 4th fret on the D string or on our 4th string, and then we're going to do the same thing and mute or not play this low E string and not play these other strings that we're not fretting, and we get this.
The third pillar is probably my favorite one out of these 4, and it's palm muting, because it just gives you that rock and roll tone. And I was doing this a lot in that little playing example that we went through. And all you're doing here is kind of accentuating the distortion you have with your guitar and the power chords, those 2 elements, and giving it some chunk by putting the fleshy part of your hand on the strings where they take off from the bridge or saddles there. And the tricky part here is finding the exact spot on your guitar where you're palm muting it enough to get that really chunky sound without just killing the strings altogether. If you put too much palm on the strings, it's going to sound really muted and you're not going to be able to decipher the notes. And if you don't put enough, it's not going to sound rock and roll. So you need to experiment and find that perfect spot where it's really chunky.
And the 4th pillar is downstrokes. Now, downstrokes, those are something that you were doing through that entire play along at the beginning, right?
Yeah, I didn't hit one upstroke, I don't think.
Right,
Yeah.
and the reason why you do that actually is to make your playing sound a lot meaner. And I'll just show you the difference here. Rock music is pretty aggressive, and this is just one of the ways that you can kind of make your guitar playing sound a lot meaner.
So even if you're just starting to get into the guitar, these 4 pillars are critical for developing your rock sound. And the cool thing about them is they're really easy to get into, so you can start applying them right away. You can download the jam track that we were playing to earlier. It is pretty fast. But it's a really cool example of what you can do with just 4 simple guitar techniques if you're wanting to get into rock guitar.
So if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. And if you're struggling with anything in your rock guitar playing, or you found something that's really gonna help out other rock guitar players, make sure to leave that in the comments below. We'll see you later.